Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Rosa B, and you've joined us for our Meet the Employer session. Today, we are meeting Invesco. But before we get started, I just wanted to introduce you to our BSL and our captions people. We have Jake and Andrew joining us today. So, welcome both. Thank you very much for joining us. Today's session is going to last anywhere up to about 40 minutes, and there is an opportunity for you to ask our employer any questions that you want about the recruitment or hiring process. We will also have the chat box open, and you'll be able to chat with each other or ask any other questions that way too. So, what I would like to say is, I just wanted to check in that the captions is working. We all good with that? Excellent. Okay. So this is actually part of our Meet the Employer webinar series. It will be recorded and it will be on our Hive website. So it will be accessible for those who are unable to join us today. Both myself and the panelists will be recorded, but you won't be recorded yourself. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Invesco. Today we have Andrea, Laura, Lara, and Jonathan. Welcome all. Thank you for coming along today. I thought what we could do is we could start off with each of you just explaining who you are, what your role is at Invesco, and why you're here today before we get into the questions. So let's start with Andrea.
Yep. Hi, thanks, Rosa. So I'm Andrea Hammond. I am part of the talent team at Invesco. I've been with Invesco probably the longest, I think, coming up for 17 years, which is actually quite junior for a lot of people. We've got sort of 20 plus years in our HR team alone. So yeah, 17 years within the HR team and now in the talent team with previous recruitment experience. So I look after various areas of the business across Europe. So that covers all of our EMEA regions. And the recruitment process right from the start, talking to our managers when they want to recruit somebody, right onto the onboarding of that individual joining Invesco.
Fantastic. So why is it important for you to be here today?
Yeah, so I think, look, we are partnering with Even Break, which is a fantastic partnership. Invesco is about diversity and inclusion. It's hugely important to us here and myself in our role. And I'll talk a little bit more about why it's important to Invesco. But for me, I have colleagues, friends, people that I've met throughout my life and career from all different, cultures, diverse backgrounds. And I think, it's the way of the world now. Everybody has to be included, and especially in our role, it's great to meet lots of different people and understand more about, different disabilities and how we can help in our company and in my role. It's really interesting to me, which is why, I'm really excited about the partnership with Even Break as well.
And I can see your passion, Andrea. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction. Jonathan, would you like to explain your role and why it's important for you to be here today?
Of course, Rosa. And morning, everyone. Great to connect. Much like Andrea, I'm a talent acquisition partner covering a variety of functions here at Invesco. So investments, UK distribution, UK real estate solutions, and ESG. What's important for me, we're ever increasingly thinking about diversity of thought here at Invesco. That comes in different shapes and forms, but finding people who have different experiences, different academics, different neurodiversity, you name it, that's our job now, is to try and diversify the pool of very smart individuals here who are managing a lot of money, $1.5 trillion, I believe we're currently, finding the best and the brightest, no matter what their backgrounds, and that's why we're here today to try and sell and pitch ourselves to sort of those who are on the call, those who will watch the call, and to hopefully attract people who maybe were hesitant about sort of applying to an asset manager, hesitant about applying to financial services for whatever reason, whether it's a disability, a neurodiverse situation. We're here to hopefully persuade people they should consider us and go from there.
Okay. Well, I'm sure a lot of our Even Break candidates will have lots of questions that they will want to ask you too, in particular about the recruitment process and how they can stand out. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, we also have Laura and Lara. So Laura, would you like to introduce yourself and why you're here today?
Yep. So hello, everyone. I'm so sorry about the confusion over the two names, but we'll try and keep it straight today. It wasn't planned. So my name's Lara. I am part of our finance team here at Invesco. I'm also a manager, so I have a team of people that report into me. And I work very closely with the team based here, but we've also got teams of individuals based over in India and over in the United States as well. And I work regularly with all of those. That's one of the things I really enjoy about Invesco is I get to work with a lot of people from different cultures and different backgrounds. And I really enjoy, working to make sure that we can include everyone and be as open and inclusive about that process. My particular passion, I suppose, is actually in neurodiversity. So I'll speak about it a bit more later on, but we do have a Neurodiversity Network at Invesco, and I am one of the co-chairs of that network. So we exist within Invesco to help celebrate and support any individuals with neurodiversity. It's not something I've been personally impacted by, but it's something I've always found really interesting. And actually, there is an individual in my team who would identify as being neurodiverse or neurodivergent. So it's something I'm really interested in better understanding myself and making sure that as an employer and as a company, we are as supportive and responsive to that need as we can be. So that's kind of my main area of interest. But as a manager and as someone that hires people, I know how hard it can be to get the best talent and the people that we want in. And I think it's really important for us that we've got a population of as diverse talent as we possibly can find, and that we work with the people we recruit to overcome any challenges that they might have or find those adjustments that people might need so we can get the best out of them, because recruiting the best people is hard, and we absolutely don't want to miss anyone out as we're doing that.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you for that. Look forward to speaking to you a little later. And finally, but not lastly, we have Laura. Laura, would you like to introduce yourself, your role, and why you're here today, why it's important for you?
Yeah, sure. So I joined Invesco over 4 years ago. I support the legal and company secretarial team based in Henley. I also co-chair the disability business resource group at Invesco. And as I have a disability myself, I think I've got quite a passion to drive change and make an impact and encourage Invesco to be an inclusive and diverse company. So yes.
Fantastic. And can I just say before we get started, Laura, I am loving your workspace. That's fabulous. Almost looks like you're in the garden there. How fabulous.
I'm in the conservatory, but yes.
Okay, let's get started, shall we? Question number 1, and that's going to go to you, Andrea. And I know our candidates will want to know the answer to this. Why is recruiting disabled candidates important for your business?
Yes, so our workplace is one where everyone feels equally valued and respected, and a sense of belonging is just core at our culture, really. So we know that there are a lot of disabled people who are available for work and who want to work. And with awareness spreading, the mindset is changing. So at Invesco, we believe that hiring disabled candidates, it creates a more inclusive environment and hugely improves the culture. We hire professionals who are highly motivated, which makes for an environment where the morale is high and productivity is increased. So also our candidate pools are increased, and we can look at people who bring additional skills to the business.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to stay with you, if that's okay, for a little bit longer. I've got another question. This is a really important question. How embedded into your culture is recruiting people with disability?
So look, I mean, there's still a journey for us, but it starts at the job ad. So we specifically note on all of the job ads the flexibility with making any adjustments during the application process, so starting right from the start, and the selection process. And it gives candidates the opportunity to contact the specific talent partner, so myself or Jonathan or one of the other colleagues in our team, to discuss the role and the application from that very starting point. through to joining our managers are made aware of any adjustments that the employee may need in the workplace, and they're always supported by the HR team at the beginning of their journey and throughout their career with us, Invesco. So our buildings and services are accessible to all employees, and actually we're currently in the last stages of launching a new careers page, which will be fully accessible in format and content. So that's going to be launching hopefully in a couple of weeks. Our managers and teams are being made more aware of the importance of having a diverse culture. And so what we've done is created networks across the business who meet on a regular basis and share some great work to continue the education and awareness. And Lara and Laura mentioned, a couple of the networks that they're involved in, and Lara's going to talk about that a bit later on. So we also partner with lots of external groups to create an inclusive environment, and we continue to research what other companies are doing as well, to increase our ideas and options that we've got. And as I said before, our partnership with Even Break is really important to us. And although we are still at the start of our journey with Even Break, we're really committed to it and excited to work with them.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot even further, Andrea. I'm going to give you a hypothetical. Are you ready? Okay, so I have ADHD and dyslexia. I might need some accommodations, at the application stage. Can you give me some examples of the type of accommodations that you can make in that sort of scenario, just to give our candidates an idea of what's possible?
Yeah, for sure. And a most recent one that I've had, we've just recruited a neurodiverse candidate into our ETF business, actually. And what we did with that lady was we gave her the interview questions before she came to the interview, so she could prepare.
Did I hear you say that you gave the interview questions?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
So
yes.
that a lot of the candidates think that they can't ask for that. But they can, right?
Well, absolutely. And again, it's talking about any adjustment and how we can help. We will never say no. We will work around it and whatever works for the candidate. So, and this specific candidate also, what we did is we shared the profiles of the people that she was going to be talking to. So a photo, a little bit about them and their background, also, it gave her more time to prepare. Yeah. So this specific one, we've had roles in the past where part of the recruitment process is to go through an assessment, and certain candidates might need more time for that. So there's lots of different ways we can be flexible, make adjustments. Certainly some people might not want to be on a video, and look, this is the way we are now. A lot of it is virtual, and so we would make arrangements for them to come into the office. So different things, but that's the most recent one where we actually gave the lady the interview questions and gave her more time to prepare.
Fantastic. So every one of you out there, know what your needs are, or request the accommodations. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? And if you're able to explain why you might need that accommodation at application or interview stage, employers will look at that, and they do want to accommodate, right, Andrea, where they can, because all you want is for that individual to be able to thrive throughout that recruitment process and at interview stage.
For sure. Yeah. Look, we want the process for everybody to run smoothly, so we want everybody to be have what they need, including the recruiting manager. We have to give the recruiting manager a bit of background as well, because it may be a different way of interviewing for them. It may be a different way of looking at the candidate's application for the recruiting manager. So it's about educating and working with everybody closely from the start of the process. So yeah.
Fabulous. Because there are different ways to interview, isn't there? There's that formal interview, there's structured conversations. So I just want to offer this out. This is one of our candidates who's come on to chat, and they're saying, thank you, Andrea, for giving the interview questions and the profiles. This is a breath of fresh air. Having been told to do that would be unfair on other candidates. So, you're getting some kudos there from one of our candidates who think that this is really innovative and it's a breath of fresh air. So fabulous. Andrea, thank you very much for taking those questions. Laura, I want to go to you next, if I may. Can you tell us a bit more about Invesco's networks? Because Andrea was explaining the networks that are within Invesco, these community groups or these networks that are there to help everyone. Can you explore that with us a little more?
Of course, yes. So our networks are very much themed around our diversity and inclusion priorities. And we partner with external organizations that have similar diversity and inclusion networks as well, so that we can leverage best practice and share resources and all the rest. There are a number of them, so I can talk through a couple of them in more detail, and a few of them perhaps more high level, so I don't consume the whole time on it. But obviously the one closest to my heart is the Neurodiversity Network, which I mentioned earlier, which I co-chair. So we're all about increasing the awareness of neurodiversity, because I'm very aware that it's still a topic a lot of people don't properly understand or perhaps have misconceptions about, and promoting that internal dialogue and making a space where people feel safe to speak up and share the way it might impact them. And it's been interesting for me going through that there's been a real mix of people who are both impacted personally at work and have to deal with those challenges themselves, but then also parents who have children that are recently diagnosed and going through that process too. And what's been nice for me is seeing the connection between the people who are living it themselves and then the parents of those children can sort of see what the future might look like and how their children might grow up into the workplace as well. Some of the things we've done as part of the Neurodiversity Network, we did run an initiative internally called Diversity Diaries, where we allowed some of those individuals with those challenges to share their personal stories. And it was hugely well received. And it was really lovely to see all of the comments from their colleagues and their peers, sort of, who maybe worked with them for some time, but perhaps didn't realize some of what they struggled with. And also some of the positives and the upsides and the strengths that they identified as well. So that really helped encourage that conversation for us. Andrea mentioned we've had an intern join recently who was on the autism spectrum, and we're looking at doing another internship as well. And then we're recently working on our process for reasonable adjustments internally. We do have a process, but we're really trying to highlight it, make everyone much more aware of it, and make it something that everyone knows about and knows how to access and how to use. So that's the one that I suppose I'm closest to. We have also got a disability network, which Laura co-chairs, that she mentioned. So she might want to speak a little bit more about that a little bit later on as well. And then there's a lot of other networks that a lot of people are part of, and many people are part of more than one, to be honest, because we're all complex individuals. We bring our whole selves to work, and everyone has a number of elements of diversity about them. So we have got a network that focuses on working families and what it's like to juggle caring, whether that's for children or older members of your families. We have a Proud network, which supports our LGBTQ community. There is a women's network that supports women at all levels of their career. There is an ethnicity network that supports all of the cultural diversity that we've got at Invesco. And for our more junior staff as well, there is a Rising Careers network that identifies that sometimes coming in at a more junior level, when you're working with so many experienced staff, it can be hard to get your career off to a good start. So they really help with the networking and the skills development that those more junior staff might need. So there's a real variety of networks that they're very open and accessible. I've found them a really good way to broaden my community of people I work with at Invesco. And they're all very passionate about the D&I topics that they are focused on, and delivering real change for Invesco. So I've really enjoyed being part of it, and look forward to seeing what they can deliver going forward.
Fantastic. What I'm seeing and hearing here is the power of networking, the power of networks. So that's incredibly, I know other companies are doing that too. It's really innovative, but it's the way in which Invesco is doing it. The Diaries, which is really a form of storytelling. People are getting to share their experiences collectively, and people are learning and getting to know each other, what our strengths and talents are, but also the things that challenges us. So I just want to applaud you on that, Lara. That's really innovative. Thank you so much for sharing that. Jonathan, I want to ask you a question, if that's okay.
Please do, yeah.
So the question is, what does your recruitment process look like? Can you explain that or go into a little more detail on that for us, please?
Of course, Rosie. Yeah, so to give everyone a snapshot of how it works sort of behind the curtain. So all of our positions are advertised internally, externally. including wording you should find on all our adverts about the requests for any reasonable adjustment. So you'll find that in our adverts. So we post our adverts. We are including on LinkedIn. I believe even Break will be sort of, pushing some of our adverts as well, which will be very much welcomed. The applications then are processed through our portal, our internal portal, and the talent partners, myself, Andrea, sort of Donna, Serena, Kristen, our job is to keep track of applicants, to look through our applicants, and to, at that stage, sort of identify and shortlist a slate of candidates that we want to discuss with the hiring manager. Now, we aim to contact all candidates one way or another, even if we think you're not right for that role. You may receive an email from us to let you know, but you should receive some feedback from us. Ideally, it's positive feedback, and we give you a call to discuss your application. At that point, we feel free at any stage to discuss adjustments, considerations that you may want to ask, because I think as Andrea made clear at the start, and I know Lara and Laura have done the same, we want these discussions to take place, whether it's at the first stage, whether or not you want to get your offer first and then discuss it with, but think about that and approach that however you see fit. But as talent acquisition partners, when we speak about the role, we're very open to discussing any adjustments or considerations that you'd like to flag at that stage, and get views from us as to what we can do from our side. So we contact candidates, we discuss the role, their experience, we ask them questions. They typically have a good sort of barrage of questions for us as well that we try and answer. We're doing, at the moment, given sort of the situation, it's largely virtual interviews. Now, that COVID obviously sort of presented that challenge to us, but we found it's actually worked very well. We've been a little bit more agile, a little bit more nimble with virtual interviews. It's saved a lot of time. It's allowed us to speed up some of our processes. It's given candidates a lot more flexibility. It means they don't have to find sort of 3 hours in their day to get the train to Henley or indeed to our London office if it's a UK role. So we've gone through the process quite a bit quicker now on the recruitment side of things. Now, if a candidate for one reason or another says to us, listen, the virtual interview doesn't work well for me for these reasons, we would love to have you to one of our offices, Henley, London. We will facilitate and make that work, of course we'll. But as a general rule, we're starting now with virtual interviews. Now, we also have, in some of our roles, assessments that we ask candidates to complete. That could be numerical, verbal. But we again, this will be something we discuss with the candidates as we're looking at the role and seeing what requirements we have for that particular position. But any candidate who we invite for interview, we will share with them the full details of the interview process, times, dates, dial-in details, who they'll be meeting with, ideally background on the interviewers, as Andrea suggested. We're more than happy to share that information. We're not precious about, if you're going to be talking to Lara, we'll share your details, Lara, with any of the candidates. Of course we will, sort of your role, your position, that sort of thing. And then post-interview, our job is to collect feedback from the candidates. So we'll speak to you, we'll call and get your view. How did it go from your side? Do you have any questions? And we'll obviously reciprocate with feedback that we collect from the hiring managers as well. Because these things, it's always a two-way process, right? We're there to offer feedback as we are to collect feedback. And it's, the way Invesco looks at our interviews is very much a two-way process. You're there to ask questions of us, and we're there to ask questions of you and to swap those notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, often as coaches, we say to our candidates, you're interviewing that employer as much as they are interviewing you, right? So it is a two-way process, and it's really interesting to hear the communication, how you're upfront and transparent. You're letting that candidate know through every step of your process what will happen next or what's going to happen. And that can often take out a lot of the anxiety or the I'm not too sure what's happening question that candidates can have when they're in that kind of journey with regards to going for interviews, etc. It's so important to give them that information up front, right? It gives them that peace of mind. So well done on that. Jonathan, I'm going to leave you for a bit, but I do have a few more questions I'm going to ask you. Okay, so I'd like to go to Laura. Laura, can you share with us your story, please? We're going to do a bit of storytelling now, everyone. What is your experience of working at Invesco whilst living with a disability?
Yes, sure. So when I joined Invesco, as I said, over 4 years ago, At interview stage, I didn't disclose I had a disability. I was just a bit conscious about, telling somebody that I potentially wanted a job working for. But after 6 months, my temporary role went permanent. So at that point, I was thrilled, and I thought my manager at the time made me feel so comfortable. So at the time, I told her that I had a disability and I had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. She was extremely supportive. She put me in touch with HR. We discussed benefits, reasonable adjustments, anything that they felt would help me. There was the offer of that being done. So basically, one of the reasonable adjustments that was made was I sort of struggled walking at a fair distance. So when I arrived at Henley, I was the site's quite a big site, so getting parked up and to where I needed to be was pretty big distance. So after speaking to my manager and security, they kindly put a disabled bay more local to where my team were based in Henley. So that is just such a help. Just getting in and out of the office, it just relieves some of that pressure of walking and being uneven flooring and just being aware of what I'm doing. So that was amazing. I was thrilled about that. Another reasonable adjustment is pushing up from my seat, making sure I had the right seat and I'm able to get up and stand up properly rather than, relying on my legs to help me push up and walking about. So I've got a dropped foot, so I find it hard to walk on uneven ground. So it's just being conscious of when I'm walking. But yes, my employer, my manager at the time was very helpful, supportive. Anything that they could do, they would help with. And also, as the years have gone on, I struggled with people asking me, why are you walking like a limp? What have you done to your leg? The awkward questions. And I think over time, I've built up the confidence with the support of Invesco of being able to have those open conversations and say, I've got a dropped foot, which is caused by damage from my brain to where it needs to be and telling me to lift my foot and things like that. Just raising awareness and talking to people and explaining, I think has really helped. So that was a great thing as well. And it was, over the years, it's about bringing my whole self to work and not having to avoid those awkward questions or people talking about things and not feeling comfortable to ask. And now I encourage those kind of questions being asked. And anything that I feel like I need support with, my manager is there to do that for me. So it's been quite a journey, but I've not worked for an employer that has been that inclusive with my disability and encouraged me to talk about it. So I feel relieved and I feel happy that I'm able to do that now. And my manager at the time suggested I join the Diversity Project on the disability work stream, which is where we try and encourage and drive change and, make things more easier and, attractive for people to come into Invesco, that we are trying to make change and make it more diverse. So yes, that's my story, really.
Okay, what a wonderful story. Again, there's a theme coming up here about communication, just having that open, honest communication about who we are. And I love the way that you talked about how you were bringing all those parts of you to work, right? Yeah. Because there can be barriers, there can be challenges. We just don't rock up to work and it all works out. Sometimes we do need those supports and those accommodations. And we also need to have our own voice as a self-advocate, and you are a wonderful example of a self-advocate, and I just want to thank you for that. Now, you are a chair of one of the networks, is that right? Can you tell me a little more about what your role is there and how you're supporting others?
Yes, so I co-chair the Disability Work Street, or BRG, for Invesco, and as I said, it's all about trying to make a change. So last year we become disability confident level 1. This year we're going to try and enhance that to become level 2. So it's just about creating change and just raising awareness. Last year, I shared my story on our intranet site about my MS, and the feedback was amazing. I was overwhelmed by it, especially from directors and senior managers, that you think, oh my gosh, they've read it, and it's really encouraging. And since then, I've had other people message me going, oh, I've got MS, and I didn't know they did, that anybody worked for Invesco that had that, you know. So it's just encouraging those conversations and allowing people to talk.
Yeah. So not only are you an advocate, you know, a leader, you're also an ambassador. So thank you for sharing your story with us. Okay, Jonathan, I'm going to pick on you again. I hope that's okay.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I know our candidates want me to delve a little bit deeper about applications.
Sure.
So you're the expert. How do I make my application stand out, Jonathan?
Of course. So starting with the basics, the CV is obviously the first thing that we look at when we receive an application from someone. Now, the look at your CV, think about the job that you're applying for. Now, obviously keep it within sort of the bounds of what's reasonable, but tell us why you fit the job on your CV. Keep it to 2 pages, I would say. You know, we have to go through many hundreds of CVs every week. So, you know, if we get a sort of 5, 6, 7 pager, we're almost missing out a lot of what you've told us in that. So keep it to a couple of pages. Think about what you want to include that highlights why you're going to be good for the particular position you're applying for. But the most important thing I would say is, and we talked about this a little bit at the start, this diversity of thought. Have the CV scream at us. This is what I'm bringing. You know, outside of your academics, fine, we'll glance at those, of course we will. But don't focus on your academic achievements and say, listen, I've got this, I've got that. You know, if Lara came to us and said, listen, I need an accountant, of course we're going to sort of tick the boxes. I've got ACA, ACCA, and so on and so forth. But you know, we could have 300 with that. What are you going to tell us on your CV that's going to make us say, this person looks really interesting, right? They're going to bring with themselves to Invesco a diversity of something. So, you know, we don't need cover letters. You know, we sometimes we get a chance to read those, sometimes we don't. So your CV is the key to showing us what are your interests, what are your aspirations. You know, what have you done that's interesting and quirky and different? What are you going to bring to the team that's going to make us? Now, obviously, you get a chance to pitch all this in the interview and so on and so forth. Of course you do. But we need to get you to that stage to begin with. So that's the tool you're bringing with your CV. So when I'm looking through CVs, I know it's the same for Andrea and the others. We look at the work experience. We look at the academics, fine. But then you know, particularly if we have a large number of applications, and we do at the moment, it's a sort of busy marketplace. We look at the interest, we look at what, you know, and quite often we'll comment, say, it's really interesting, actually, this person's done a programming course in Python, or this person spent some time sort of studying something really quite out there and different, not necessarily something you'd say is obvious to finance, but it is interesting to us now, because we are, the message that we have and the message that we push to our hiring managers, diversity of background, diversity of thought. So just think about that when you're putting your application together, your CV together, I should add. Just think about the small things that sort of make you stand out from the crowd. It's cliche, fine, but when we're looking at 150 CVs, there is going to be things that grab us, things that we find interesting. So that will be my guidance to everyone. Is just, you know, don't be afraid to put something on the CV. You've studied to do sort of French cuisine. You know, you might think it means nothing to finance, but it just tells a little bit something about, you know, you're number one, you put that on your CV. Good on you, right? It's interesting. Or you know, I've trained to sort of in sign language. Who knows? These things are interesting to us. Yeah, it may not be day to day. You're using that in your job, but we're here building a diverse company. So and that it's your CV. Your CV is the starting point in all of this. Again, you know, we talked about accessibility of asking questions to your TA partner. We're called TA partners because not only do we partner with the business units we serve, but we partner with the candidate pool, with the external networks. So give us a call, drop us an email. You know, we're not shy. My contact details are plastered wherever you tend to look for them, on LinkedIn or on my email chain. Same with Andrea and the other TA partners. So give us a call. But yeah, think about when you're putting your CV together, think about how it applies to that job. But more importantly, how do how do you apply to a company? You know, what do you bring to the table of the company? Obviously, we'll sell ourselves to you in our adverts and during the interview process. So we've got to do that as well. But your CV is that starting point. So that would be my guidance: is a nice short CV, but with those really interesting points about yourself.
Okay. Yeah. So you don't need the covering letter. Your focus is on that CV.
Yeah. Okay. Listen. Yeah, what I would say is if someone feels the need or wants to add a cover letter, we will attempt to look at those and read those. But as I mentioned, if we're going through 100, 150 applicants, it's time is sometimes sort of a shortage. So all I would say is don't feel the need to put a cover letter together. That will be during the call we have with you. During the interview you hopefully have, that's when you get a chance to really sell yourself in full. The CV is the snapshot.
And also just to add to that, look, we do cover roles across Europe, so we do have vacancies in a lot of different regions, but we do ask that your CV is in the English language, because we have our colleague, some speak French, we have our colleague in Germany, but most of us don't speak another language, or the recruiting managers, so it's easier to put that in the English language. And check your CVs, check your, it may sound like silly little things, but check your spellings, check your, check it, get somebody else to check it. We look at those things as well, the attention to detail, definitely.
Thank you. Okay, so this leads me on to a question, because I was listening carefully to what you said, Jonathan. We check those emails. So you're not using a bot, are you? Are you manually checking through each of those CVs?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness me, you're busy.
Yeah. We don't have any. No, we do not have any algorithm. I know some companies do have that. It's a blunt tool. We don't. No, we do not use a bot in any way, shape, or form. As I mentioned, we may have assessments, but again, that's post someone applying for a position.
Yeah, and we're heavily recruiting, right? Even last year, in the height of the pandemic, we had a slowdown, but we never had a freeze like a lot of companies did. So we had a bit of a breather, but we were still quite busy. And so now it has completely ramped up again. There is 4 of us doing our role across Europe. We roughly have around 20 to 30 roles each. Now, if you imagine, on average 50 to 60 CVs, sometimes 300 for one role. So yeah, it's a lot.
Oh, you guys are busy. I mean, I did want to delve in a little bit and ask, those other questions, but I just want to say it's interesting that you're not using the bot, because a lot of companies are. But you're right, Jonathan, you're not going to be able to pick up that nuance. The bot won't pick up all those other interesting, quirky, diverse things that you've done on your CV that actually can matter, right? That you want to pick up as a human. So that's really interesting. On average, how many applications are you getting per role?
It's how long's a piece of string. As Andrea mentioned, Rosa, if you were to average it, maybe 50. But again, it's some roles Andrea mentioned will have hundreds, others will have 10. We have Henley as a location. Now, as much as we have a new normal, and we had flexible working long before COVID, and it's now sort of accelerated, exaggerated, and ever improved. So, but Henley does occasionally pose a challenge if we need someone to ideally show their face once or twice a week. That does sometimes put people off who maybe don't live anywhere near near Henley. But yeah, I mean, as an average, 50 maybe.
Yeah, and it depends on the role, definitely. Some roles are really quite specific in what we're looking for. Other roles, we have areas across the business from, like Lara, finance, legal, the sort of more sort of middle to back office roles as well as the more senior director roles. So there's a lot of diverse roles and business areas that we have at Invesco. So I know sometimes, the finance industry might sort of scare people or put people off, but we have those roles from, junior administrator right up through to director level, so it's very, very varied. So again, it can depend, but I would say 50 to 60 average per role.
I just wanted to ask another question. Internal progression is possible within Invesco, right? Can you explore or develop that a little further for me, Andrea? How does that work?
Yeah. So, I mean, internal progression is the same for every employee within Invesco. So, everybody that's part of our organisation. So it's actually, internal candidates are really important to us, and we love to give our employees the opportunity to grow and learn about the business. So, being an internal candidate does help. You're here on the ground, you're collaborating and communicating with the rest of the business on a daily basis. So you have the opportunity to reach out to other areas, discuss the roles with us as well, which is a good plus, and sometimes shadow employees in their own roles. I quite often talk to internal candidates and say, look, what you've got here is golden. Go and talk to the recruiting manager. Go and talk to somebody in the team. It is confidential. So if you wanted to apply internally, it is fully confidential. You can have those conversations before making that step to apply for a role internally. We are quite often moving people internally within their business area or into different business areas and different regions. The global mobility, we're doing it a lot. So there's a lot of movement from the US to the UK, from the UK to the US, across the different European regions as well. It's something that we do encourage, and it's something that our team see quite often with internal applications, where people across the business are talking to us about roles internally. Yeah.
And we also have a very large learning and development budget here. Yeah. So progression in your own role is part of what we look at as well. So if an individual says to their line manager, I think it'd be useful for me to study CFA. I think it would be useful for me to understand a bit more about sort of, XYZ. ESG is a big one for us at the moment. So every line manager then can go and speak to our learning development team, and as far as I'm aware, there's been no declines. We nearly always get sign off on someone's personal development, largely from an academic perspective, but there is that progression as well within your own role.
I just wanted to go back on that a little, Andrea, and ask, so, can you expand on that a little more and tell us, how your employees can avail of this global mobility? How does that actually work? So if I'm interested in, relocating or moving into a different business area, how does Invesco make that possible?
Yeah, for sure. So as Jonathan mentioned about when a role becomes vacant, it will be advertised internally as well. So every employee has the opportunity to have a look on the careers page and sign up for alerts as well. So you can sign up when we post things for alerts to come up, so that you can see that there is an internal vacancy. So again, what a lot of people do, I find, is they will talk to us first. So they will talk to us about the role. Who does it report to? What team is it in? Can we tell them a bit more about it? How likely is it that they would get a chance at this role? If they're in finance and they want to look at IT for whatever reason, so they will talk to us about it. We know the ins and outs of the role, and we're working with the recruiting manager, so we know what we're looking for. And then it is quite simply, they can apply. And as I said, it is kept confidential. Sometimes employees are already having conversations with their manager about different things, about progression within their own department, or thinking about something else. So they do feel comfortable to have those open conversations. Sometimes they don't, right? So that will be completely confidential. And it will be communicated once they've been made that offer. So everything is confidential. So it is essentially that they would apply. We would talk to the manager about the internal candidate applying. Sometimes, look, they don't get an interview. It's the same as looking at an external candidate. They just don't. But we will also offer that constructive, criticism and comment. We will talk to them about, okay, well, what do you want to do? What's going to work for you? We quite often know what is coming up in the future. And what we also do is talk between us in terms of, look, I've got somebody internally who's looking to move on to something different. or what have you got coming up? So we talk between ourselves in our team as well. But also we encourage people to talk to other areas of the business. Do you want to do something else? Is there something else that you didn't think about? I know Lara would quite welcome, somebody to come and sit with her team and talk about what they do. It's very open environment. And that's what I say to candidates internally and externally. It is an open environment. So, as long as we're talking, then we can help people.
And there's also the nuts and bolts of geographical. So we've moved, this year alone. So I've personally got someone, not personally, I didn't carry their bags or anything or sail the boat, but we got them to the Netherlands, so UK to Netherlands. We've moved a chap from Australia to the UK. There's a movement, an individual moving to Luxembourg as we speak. So, and we have a team, a global mobility team, Rosa, who assists with all of that, the sort of the ins and outs. But we do move people geographically internally as well, if there's a role in a country and it fits them, and so on and so forth.
Fantastic. And then, of course, we are on the internet. We can all work from home and work remotely. Some of us don't need to do that physical relocation, and that suits us fine, right? Andrea, what support can I expect if I'm to be hired by Invesco? So we've gone through the interview process, we've been successful, we've landed that job, right? What can you offer our candidates when they're actually in the job with Invesco? How does it work?
Yeah, so we spoke previously about any reasonable adjustments that needed to have been made. So we would have spoken to you about that prior to sort of joining Invesco. If you'd have sort of made it known to us that you needed these adjustments, and your manager will be fully up to speed and will be included in the process to make sure that your onboarding goes very smoothly. So every employee at Invesco has regular one-to-ones with their manager, where we're given the opportunity to discuss any concerns in a confidential environment. I think when Laura was talking about her experience, it was that build-up of that relationship with her manager where she became confident. And that only happens by having regular sort of discussions, chats, coffees, with the person that you're working with and working for. So the one-to-ones are ongoing. So if there's any changes that need to be made throughout your time with Invesco, they're discussed straight away. So it's all about communication, and then your career at Invesco will hopefully be a really nice journey. But it's building up that communication and that relationship with your recruiting manager. We have, obviously, as Laura mentioned previously, the support from the rest of the wider HR team, the benefits team, the networks that we have. It's ongoing and it's only going to grow. All of these areas are never going to go away. There's always going to be new things happening. And I think it's support. It's support for everybody. So we're particularly talking, about candidates who are disabled today, but it is support for everybody. And I would say, just people always say to me, why have you been at Invesco for so long? It is the people, it's the experiences, and it's the support, definitely for me. I've always been in HR here, but I've seen the company grow. I've seen people around me grow. I've grown, and it is 17 years. So they're doing something right.
Wow, 17 years. Congratulations. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. I do apologize for the Wi-Fi, guys, cutting out there once or twice, but we got back on. I just wanted to thank you all for joining me today. It's really interesting listening to how you support our candidates with disability. And the big thing that's coming across here is your communication. It's open, it's transparent, it's flexible, it's adaptable, and you just want people to be at their best. And you've got some fabulous innovations going on in Invesco. So I just wanted to thank you all for that. We're going to go to Q&A. Now, there is some questions. I'm not too sure if they've been answered in the process. If they have, please let me know. We have Rachel. Rachel, your question was, do you have work experience shadowing for 2 to 3 weeks? Non-pay, opportunity gives to see each other, the opportunity it gives to each other, and the ability to evaluate if the individual fits in. She's also asking here, can I email my CV across? So she's eager. I think she's impressed with Invesco. So talk to us a little bit more about that work experience or work shadowing or work trials even. Do you offer that? What does that look like?
We do have a series of internships.
Yeah.
We don't call it shadowing, but we're internships, if you will. They are always paid. We don't we're not asking people to come and give us their time for nothing. So there is some recompense for these things. What I would say to Rachel and to anyone really is that keep a close eye. Number one, sign up to our talent network if you can. If you go to our careers site, you'll find an option to sign up. Secondly, keep an eye on our careers site and apply for anything. Or as we mentioned throughout, drop us a note and happy to explore and discuss these ideas.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, me and Jonathan did a presentation a couple of years ago in London where it was almost like a careers fair. And I think we had the most people come up to us. And people sent us their CVs following that. So, following this call, for sure, let's chat, we may not have anything right now, but it's good, like Jonathan said, join our talent network. That is the way you'll be kept up to date with what's going on with Invesco and on the recruitment side.
And alternatively, you advertise your jobs on Even Break. So why not pop along to Even Break and have a look at the opportunities that Invesco has up there at the moment. You mentioned internships. Is that for all ages or is that for certain ages?
Oh no, it's open. In fact, I think there might be a question actually about sort of the
age restriction,
the degree. Well, the degree piece. We have people on our internships where it's been from a variety of backgrounds. They've been to school and then sort of gone into training or working, whatever it may be. I'm working at the moment on a returner opportunity. But we do not discriminate. If you don't have a degree, so what? Tell us about you, and if you've got the experience for the role, then that suits us fine. But getting back to the question, no, I mean we apply. We certainly do not age discriminate against anyone who would like to apply for a position.
Okay. Do you allow people to work remotely most of the time if a disability requires it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look at us now, we're in the office today, but I'm normally sitting at home as Laura is today, for sure. And again, it's about reasonable adjustments. I think over the last year and a half, it's obviously for everybody, working remotely has become the new normal. We are moving back into the office, but what we're doing is taking the approach and, it doesn't necessarily have to be 5 days a week. Most teams are doing around 2 to 3 days. However, if there is a role that allows for somebody to be 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, working from home, we can look at that. And what we do is when we talk to the recruiting manager, when we're briefing on the role, we talk about those flexibilities. They expect that question from us now. We spoke about it pre-COVID anyway, and we had a really good smart working culture at Invesco pre-COVID. But it's a question that they're expecting from us. So we already know, okay, well, does this person need to be in the office every day? Can they work from a different office? All these different questions we will throw at the recruiting manager at the very start. So we'll have a good understanding of what it looks like. But for sure, don't not apply, ask the question,
Absolutely. Ask the question. Don't be shy. Yeah. Okay. We have one more question. This is from Anonymous. What happens if you are one of the generation that you went into work and trained there rather than got a degree? Would that be a disadvantage?
No. Simply put, as I said earlier, it's about what someone brings with their experience, with their background. So no, in fact, we have a good number of people here at Invesco. A good number, in fact, hired quite recently without. There we go.
I'm one of them.
Andrea's one of them. But no, do not let that sort of in any way, shape, or form put you off applying or sort of registering interest with us. We're not a sort of, you have to have economics and have been M&A for 2 years. Not at all. Please apply.
And what we do is we are educating our managers more so in that, that it's, don't just look for specifics, be flexible. And that's the key to getting our great candidates.
I mean, that sort of brings up a question I have for you. You know, transferable skills, right? I have not worked in the finance industry, but I'm liking what I hear today. I might want to apply for an opportunity. How can I bring across, Jonathan, those transferable skills on my CV? What's your tips there?
So yeah, it's an interesting one. You have to look at the role, right? So if you want to join in IT, I think, as Andrew mentioned, we need someone who has a grasp of, of being able to sort of deal with the blue screen, whatever it is, right? But we have as Andrew also said, we have a huge breadth of roles here at Invesco. There's this perception sometimes that, where there's the people here who run the money and the sales team, and that's it. I mean, crikey, that's the tip of the iceberg, right? We've got huge amounts of teams here. So what I would say is think about the role you're going to be applying for. A lot of these roles, we need people with good energy, someone who brings with them a sort of an ability to work with stakeholders. If you're the sort of person who loves talking, chin-wagging, then we've got roles for you, I promise you, where as long as you're friendly and sort of diligent and get on with things. Or equally, on the other side, we've got people who prefer to bury their head in spreadsheets, right? They sit there, they're in Excel, they're putting the numbers together, and they don't want to talk to them. Fine, be you, right? So there's no one quick answer as to what. Think about the skill set that you have, and what more importantly, what you want to bring to it. What do you want to do day in, day out, right? And then see if that will match the role. Have a chat with your talent acquisition partner, or have a look at the job description. If it says you're going to be spending time on the phone working with clients and you hate talking to people, my guidance would be not to apply. But
And what we do. Sorry, I know we're talking a lot. Probably gone over time. What we do on our job ads, they are a job ad. They're not the job description, right? So they're not a 3-page document. They are a snapshot. And what that does as well is it doesn't put people off, because if somebody, when we're looking at things like, how we write a job ad, what wording we're using, it could, we look at some ads and it's very tailored to certain, areas of gender or, age. We don't do that. The job ads are very snapshot because, they will suit everybody, just apply, they will suit everybody. We're not asking for specifics. We will obviously then talk to you about the role, but we don't want to put people off applying. So we don't put bullet points of this, you must have this, you must have that, because as you say, Rosa, transferable skills. And until we talk to somebody, we won't, that's where we find all of that out.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, and job descriptions can be problematic for some people. The acronyms, the language that's used on it, you'd almost need sometimes a translator. But you get my point, So it's lovely to see, again, that flexibility and adaptability. And again, it comes back around to ask the questions throughout the process, because that will help inform you as a candidate whether you want to move forward in that process too. Now, I want to thank you all again. Our time is up. You've done a formidable job in sharing your insights and your wisdom and what it's like to work in your organization. So I want to thank Andrea, Laura, Jonathan for coming along. Sorry, guys, about the dropout in the webinar a few minutes ago. This will be recorded and it will be on our Hive, so you can watch this all over again if you like. We're going to be having a few more Meet the Employer sessions. Pop along to our Hive, have a look at our About Us section to see all of our upcoming events. Next week, Tammy T and myself will be doing a specific webinar on job search, how to craft your job search strategy. So thank you all again very much for joining. And we might see you next week, guys. Bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.